Okay, now we're going to sear this meat. Let me just show you this meat here. This is, I guess it's like a round, a top round, but the point is that this is a very tough meat. I mean, you can buy this meat for like $8 for like maybe like 4 of these like nice big lean steaks here. But you're going to want to cook this for a long period of time. Now I've defrosted this partially so that the outside of it is somewhat defrosted, but the inside of it is still a little frozen. But that's okay. As long as we have this outside of it a little defrosted, we can begin the cooking process. So the first part we're going to do is we're just going to season with some salt and pepper. That's it, just salt and pepper. So I've got some kosher salt here. I'm just going to put that on there. And some pepper. And again, if you like ground pepper, freshly ground pepper, go right ahead. Now I'm only doing one side at a time, because then I'll season the other sides as well. And just rub that in. Okay. Now we want to get the fire going here. And kind of a medium flame, or kind of hot. Now the steak has its own natural oils in it, but we do want to put a little bit of oil in the pan to kind of start the process off here and begin the searing. Okay, while we're waiting for our pan to get hot, we're just going to preheat our oven to 300 degrees, because that's what we're going to cook this at. 300 degrees for 3 hours. Real easy to remember. Sometimes it doesn't take that long, but check the meat every hour, and you can tell when it's done. It looks like our pan is ready here, and so we're just going to take this meat and sear it, or lay it down. Now that we've laid it down, let's season the other side while that's searing. What we're doing here is we're sealing the meat up because we don't want it to lose its juices while it's cooking. So this is a very important step, is searing the meat. Now you want to use, boy, this is really loud here. Yes, that'll start to stick. Let's give it a turn. Let's give that a turn. Now, you want to use a stainless steel pan or an iron pan. You could use an aluminum pan, but aluminum has been linked to Alzheimer's, so I tend to steer clear of aluminum. You don't want to use a non-stick pan, because you really want to get, a little bit of a burn on that meat there. So we'll let this sear some more on this side. And the meat will stick to the pan real easily, but what we want to do now is we want to sear the ends. We want to sear those edges. So kind of hold that meat up like this, on its side for a little bit, and sear those edges as well. I tend to use a fork for this, just because it's easier to move the meat around. But if you have some tongs, if you don't have tongs, a fork works really good. Okay, now once you have sufficiently browned this meat, we're going to turn the fire off. And I'm going to put this meat aside in a special pot right here. Okay, now you can use any kind of a covered pot, but what you need is you need a lid and you need that to fit over the pot, and you need it to be an oven pot. Now I've got this ceramic pot, and it works wonderful for the oven, but if you have a cast iron pot with a lid, or any other kind of an ovenware that has a lid that's going to hold that meat, the amount of meat that you're going to be cooking in there, because you want to be able to seal that steam in there to roast the meat in that way. Now, now that we've seared this meat, we're ready to make a broth. And what we want, see what we want now we have all this encrusted meat that it has burned onto the pan here. And this is why I say you got to use a stainless steel pan, or you got to use a cast iron pan, because this is what's going to come off in there. So this next step is how to create the broth for the beef that we're going to be cooking. Okay, for this next step, I just use a broth that you can buy at the store in a box. This is beef broth. This happens to be organic beef broth, gluten-free, if you want to steer clear of gluten. But by the way, you could use chicken stock too. If you wanted to use chicken stock, you could use that. But we're going to use this box of beef broth. Now the first thing we're going to do, we got the fire going again. We're going to add those carrots and those onions to this pot and saute them for a little bit. Now we can add a little bit more oil to that. And we'll add some pepper. This is just basic meat stock, I like to call it. You can use it for a basis for a lot of different things, like tacos, enchiladas, burritos. You can use it in tamales. It's just a wonderful staple to have, you know, in the refrigerator in times like this. You know, you can go out, buy yourself some of this meat, you know, for $8. You can get enough meat for a family of 4. You buy some carrots and onions, some celery, you know, whatever else you want to, you know, if you want to go with a little bit more of a Mexican flair, you could put maybe some pasilla peppers in here, and saute some pasilla peppers with this as well. But you want to get a good saute on these carrots and onions. Now it sounds like it stopped sizzling. The sizzling has kind of gone down, so that kind of tells me that we're ready to add the stock. So let's go ahead and do that. And we just pour it in there. And hopefully this pan will hold all this. But if the pan doesn't hold it all, that's okay. You can add it later, you know, in the oven, like as it's cooking, so it doesn't dry out. So let's just stop there. We've got a little bit left in the box, but we can use that later. And we're gonna bring this to a boil, and we're just scraping the bottom of the pan to get the scrapings off the bottom of the pan. Okay, now we can see the shape of the ring caused by the fire underneath and the rolling boil coming up. So now we know that we're done and we're ready to transfer this to the meat pot. So that is our next step. We turn the fire off here, and we're going to put this broth in with the meat. Okay, And so now you're ready to pop this baby in the oven. Remember, 300 degrees for 3 hours. Check it every hour. So check it actually on the second hour and then check it on the third hour. So we'll put this in the oven now. And use your oven mitts. You don't want to get burnt. And I'll just set the timer for an hour because I'm going to check it in about an hour. And we'll be back. Okay, so this actually, it did take 3 hours, so it was 300 degrees at 3 hours. And so let's just take this out of the oven. Turn your oven off. Don't forget to turn the oven off. And we take this out of that container. And be careful not to burn yourself. And there's that meat there. It's been cooking very nicely in that broth. And this meat is just ready to fall apart. Now you can have the meat like this, you know, maybe just chop it up and like have some potatoes with it. Or you can do what I'm going to do right now, and that is to shred the meat and save it for later for other purposes. So what I'm going to do is take this meat out. It's just actually falling apart as I take it out. I'm going to set it over here on my cutting board. Let's move this out of the way. Okay. And I've got my Tupperware containers ready to go. And what I'll do is I'll just take a couple of forks and I'm just going to start to break this meat apart just like this. You see how tender that is? You see how tender that meat is? Now this meat would be very rough and tough if all you did was fry this on a skillet or if you fried it on a barbecue. But because you have taken your time and put it in that oven at 300 degrees for 3 hours, you're going to get this lovely meat. Now this is almost like a roast beef. This is like, you could make a sandwich out of this. You know, you could do all kinds of stuff with this meat. And so, you know, all you're doing is just breaking this meat apart here. And, you know, you could take as long as you want to do this. And then, you know, we take our meat and we put it in our container over here. And it's ready for storage. We don't want to miss that piece right there. Now, you do the same with the other one. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to break up all this meat, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, so I finished shredding all of the meat, and you can see you get a nice amount of shredded meat from 2 steaks. And you know what's good about the shredding process is you can separate the fat out, you know, and throw the fat away as you're doing that. And so so the next step is, you know, after you got all your meat, you know, maybe you need 1 container. I always have an extra container for extra. What we want to do is we want to put that broth back on the meat. So we're just going to spoon it on there. And we want to get those vegetables as well, because we want this meat to stay moist. So, see, is it still hot? Maybe I can just pour this right over the meat. And it looks like there's some pieces of meat that had fallen off that I didn't get before, so I'm going to try to exclude that because I want to shred that up. And, you know, get all that broth and those vegetables back in there. And just mix that up. And this is good to go in your refrigerator. It probably won't be in there for long because you'll probably be using this meat like for everything. You can use this for soups. You can use it for tacos. You can use it for tamales. But if you're going to do a tamale base, instead of putting the broth back on there, you might want to get some pasilla peppers and you know, boil those and, you know, grind those up and mix that sauce with this meat. This meat soaks up whatever it's in. Whatever flavor you put in there, it'll soak it up. You know, barbecue beef is one of the things. It's just it's a wonderful base to use in a family household, and so we're just going to seal this up, and we're ready. We're ready for the week. We are ready. Okay. This is the Truth Seeker. Keep seeking truth. God bless you.